So everybody knows what a Yukon is, and a lot of people come in and ask when they're looking for a 7-seater, a family hauler, they think they need a big rig like this. But a great alternative is the 2025 Buick Enclave, and in particular, we're looking at the Avenir, which in Buick speak is the top trim level. So think Denali in the GMC, you have Avenir in the Buick lineup. So let's see what you get as standard equipment with a Buick Avenir. So for 25, the Enclave got the renaissance to keep up with the Buick styling that we've seen before. Throughout the lineup, it started with the Buick Encore, and then it moved to the Envision. Then we see the popular Envista. So now the biggest of them all is the Enclave, and you get this new face that comes down with Buick, where it's really a trapezoid style of grille. Your headlights are moved down into the bumper. That seems to be a really common theme nowadays because your daytime running lamps are still up top, which gives it more of a dissected headlight design. So the movement kind of keeps real familiar. Over here in the wheel well, right now, the Avenir gets these 22-inch aluminum rims. These are specific for the Avenir trim, and why it's so unique nowadays is because 22 inches, that's something that you could only find in a rim size on a Yukon, as we've seen, or a Tahoe or a pickup truck. But now you're getting it into one size down, but it still has a really, really comfortable ride. Why do we know that? Because in Buick's lineup, what they do is they have a continuous variable suspension that dampens as you drive, where a Yukon in particular, it has the magnetic ride, a little bit more sophisticated with the Yukon, but in the Buick, it just keeps it a little more subtle, but softens the road conditions as you're moving. And when we come over to the side, it's a 3-row 7-seater vehicle. So you're going to get your 2 occupants up front. Majority of the time, you're going to get majority, it's going to be 2 captain's chairs here, and then in this neighborhood, it's going to be a 3-person bench, and you still have a lot of cargo carrying capacity in the back. We're going to get into all these specs as we go along. And the back end gets a makeover also. Really what they've done with the Enclave, they kind of stretched out this LED bar that goes from side to side, really showing off the width of the vehicle, and just kind of gives it more of a high-end look because it's a clear smoked glass as opposed to the traditional red lenses that you would see on the back end of a vehicle. And then all along this strip is going to be more of your turn signals and your reverse lighting as well. And this part, it just seems to angle on the end. So it starts out, goes in, gives it a little more of a curvature aspect, which I think just adds a little more on the style. And then down in the bottom here, you get real exhaust tips. They're not just there for show. That's actually where your exhaust going to come in. Behind here is your trailering hitch, but it's, being the new fad these days, hide it when you don't need it and kind of keeps it all neat and tidy when else. And again, park assist, that's going to be part of your safety features. Let me just show you a little bit of the benefits of the cargo carrying capacity. Second reason why people buy one of these SUVs is so they can have room to carry their stuff. Get rid of these mats for now. And again, you get all this space that will come in through here. One thing that the Buick does as well with his GMC and its Chevrolet counterpart is you get this little deep well inside. So enough to hide some toilet paper if you need to. If it ever goes on rations again, you can have your own private stash. The Avenir gets the power package. So with these ones, you have little buttons over on this side. So if you wanted to fold down your seats, you just hold that down. And then if you fold down the front seat, works from here. So you do have access to kind of give you that flat row. It'll go all the way in there. A lot more space to carry all this stuff. So your second row captain's chairs for the Avenir, this is a power second row. So over on my side and down there as well, there's a little power button. So you can just push this and it folds forward for a quick release. And it gives you access to the third row. So if I were to climb in and sit back in this area, my 5'8" frame fits fairly comfortable. I got about a 2-finger spot in between my knees and this seat in front of me, and I'm actually sitting more upright as a chair as opposed to sitting, way too low with my feet higher up into my chest area. I have lots of room here because the panoramic roof starts over the second passengers. So there's definitely enough headroom. There's venting, there's cup holders, there's USB-C chargers, all for your rear passengers. And just like the power release is on the outside near the door, there's a little button here I can just push and it lets me out. And as a second row occupant, definitely a lot of legroom here. Again, it feels more chair-like as opposed to sitting on a bench. I have a proper angle with my knees. Again, it's not a raised floor, so I'm sitting more on my tailbone. I'm actually sitting on, my seat and my thighs. Lots of legroom here, lots of feet room here, and heated seats part of this package. And also tri-zone climate control. So each of the front occupants plus your rear occupants, they have their power controls on this side. HVAC vents are up on the top, so it can definitely be a welcome environment here. And also when the doors are closed, part of the Bose Premium Series, you can see I got little tweeters up front, and then there's also speakers down at the bottom, so you'd have a better access. If the tunes are playing and you like everything's going, you got your own sound system back here as well. So the door panels kind of show off a little bit more of what Buick's doing, what they're doing with the Avenir trim, and in particular, we're talking about that Bose sound system. So you get this Premium Series, it's more of a stainless steel application, a little perforation, kind of looks high end as opposed to just being a typical plastic grille. Again, more high end, you get this wood grain aspect, a little bit more of a perforated leather. You get some bronze application as well. That seems what Buick's doing with their Avenir trims. You also have memory seats, part of this Avenir trim. You also have power folding mirrors, part of this Avenir trim. And again, you also have your power trunk release. There's also, you can use it here. There's an access on your key fob. There's also access on the tailgate itself, plus the remote sense that you can just stand there and it'll open up as well. So let's get in and see how comfortable the Buick Enclave is. And I've mentioned it a couple of times because I'm really thinking this is a good idea. The Bose Premium Series just kind of steps it up a little bit. We noticed the style, but now we're going to find out the placement. I'm not sure, but let's count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 speakers matched all the way around here. The standard equipment, I think everybody's going to get part of that surround sound system. So Buick's really gone with this design cue throughout the entire lineup where you have this one gigantic screen. It's kind of curved a little bit more for the cockpit, and you have three distinct areas. Over here on my left is controls for my heads-up display. Dead center is my speedometer and my tachometer. Over on this side is the Google built-in. Again, it's not just a separate screen, but because it's all one gigantic piece of glass. So you have your Google built-in here. You still have HVAC controls that are here, but some tactile buttons that keeps it familiar. Now, I noticed one thing. It's a one continuous piece of glass for all this screen up front, so they don't interrupt it with any kind of volume knobs, because here they're going to put it into your center console. Keeps it real simple. It's within hands reach. And for a design cue, again, it's kind of a cantilever aspect. It's where your wireless charging is going to go. Lots of storage down here for, bags, Kleenex, purses, whatever you want to carry. It gives you that little extra space in this area. Under here, it also has more space. There's a removable tray and then a big deep well that will go in there as well. There's my sold sign. So the steering wheel's got a new feel to it as well, but it's all your pertinent information. I got my cruise control over on one side, and then I have my phone. I got my music. I can change my pages here. So there's a little button, and it's what do you want to show? Again, with the Google built-in, Google Maps is your navigation. So if you wanted it here or you wanted it dead center, you do have that option. Heated steering wheel button on the steering wheel only makes sense. Why would it be anywhere else? And again, when you're looking at your Google built-in, we talked about this. You get your Play Store, so if you wanted to download some apps in here, you can. You also have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay capabilities, which is good. Your vehicle settings, things that used to be controlled over here in the driver information center, they've moved to the middle screen because now you have more real estate. There's no gear selector here. it's back to a column shifter. If you paid any attention to what General Motors is doing, this just seems to be a corporate design through all four brands. So it's real simple. You have it, you pull it towards you and down, you're in drive, you pull it down towards you and go up, you're in reverse, and you push for park. Now, did you see that? You have the access here. This is your 360 camera view. So right now there's this side. Right now I'm looking out the front. I can see the trucks in my front here. If I wanted to look out the back, I just moved the crescent to the back. So now I have view of my rear camera. I can look at the sides, and now I can look over at my front wheels. Gives you a whole lot of different options, like 16 different camera angles. Hear that beep? That was rear cross traffic alert. Standard equipment with this Buick Avenir, part of the safety package that you're going to get with this one. We won't be able to see it now because it's daylight, but when the lights come on, there's little LED bars that will come all over here. And I don't know how, I'm not quick enough to figure out how many shades of red or orange or yellow or green or blue or purple or white, but there's a lot of different lights you can light up your Buick Enclave on the inside, whatever you feel like. So over here on the left, you have a little bit more of more controls, and one in particular is the all-wheel drive system. Some people think that it's an old school thing to manually press your all-wheel drive on or off, but I think it's more of an option because right now, as we're sitting in June, it's 20 degrees. You don't necessarily need all-wheel drive because it's a gorgeous day today. But if you push the button, you can just go two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but you also have a little bit more selection. So with Buick, there's a mode button over here. So you have off-road. Now, you're not going to take your Buick Enclave Avenir and go off-road, but say you were on a cottage road and you needed a little bit more of traction control, that's when you could use something like off-road. If I push it again, you get snow and ice mode. Up here in Canada, we know exactly what that means. Again, super sensitive traction control. You push it again, and now you're in sport. That's just going to work a little different where you have your all-wheel drive system plus works with your transmission, a little bit more spirited driving, holds the gear a little longer. And if I push it one more time again, it goes back to tour. And in Buick speak, touring is front-wheel drive because you're just meant to take it a little easy. So part of being luxury and full of tech, you also have to be safe. And the Buick Enclave comes with your host of standard equipment, meaning you get your front park assist. You also get your adaptive cruise control. Over here in the cameras up front, you get your rain sensing wipers and also your forward collision alert, front pedestrian detection and bicycle detection, a whole bunch of intersection detection. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, you should be looking for yourself, but you got a backup system with the camera. Over here in the mirrors, you're going to get your blind zone alert as well as your lane change alert. If you've seen the General Motors vehicles before, you get this little star icon in the mirror. So that's there. And as we come along to the back, we already heard a little bit about the rear cross traffic alert, but that works with your sensors in the bumper and low speed automatic braking as well. So definitely a vehicle that you can feel safe with. So the Buick Enclave Avenir, I've talked about it. If something like a Yukon or a Tahoe or an Escalade is just too much vehicle or too much budget, you could downsize a smidge, look at the Buick Enclave Avenir, still get all the luxury you're looking for in something just a little more tidy package.